Good day, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of CCTV installation. Like we discussed last time, we had an overview of training program, and we talked about the components of CCTV installation. We also went further to discuss how those components interconnect each other to actually give you a working system. We also talked about analog IP cameras and then IP cameras. So in the last episode, you remember we discussed about the network requirements needed for the CCTV setup and also share the diagram. You can go watch the video if you want to refresh your mind, because it's always good to have a flashback at what we did last time to align it to what we're going to do. So we'll be having more like a recap of last episode discussion. We'll have be running through that quickly before we proceed. So last time we talked about the introduction aspect of the CCTV. We talked about analog cameras, IP cameras. We also went out to talk about the network video recorder where those cameras are installed. So the NVR actually stores your recorded files for future playback and all that. They will talk about the routers and then the switches. These are also components that make up those stuff. So like you can see this part of the cameras. For those that didn't see that, these are IP cameras. We also have our cables and connectors that actually make the connection to be seamless. Also discuss about the advantages of IP cameras over analog cameras. We talk about the high resolution. We talk about remote accessibility. You can remotely monitor everything that is going on. You can also talk about scalability. It's easier to scale up on an IP base. Just like if you have 10 cameras and you want to scale up to 20, it's easier than having an analog setup, because in analog, you're going to be changing a whole lot of cables and all that. Okay. Then we also talk about that network requirements, which is the bandwidth consideration for anywhere you're going to be deploying your CCTV. Always make sure you have a survey of the best network that works in that area, because some area has Smile network working better than even an Airtel or an MTL, while some location has a Glow network working better than an Etisalat, while in some location even a Etisalat network works better than even an MTN. It's always good to understand the network requirements when you are deploying an IP CCTV, unless you don't want the CCTV to be viewed remotely. Then you can now just close it locally without bothering about the internet part. That's the network part. The IP address management, where you have static IP address, public IP address, dynamic IP address system. So depend on the topology you are deploying. So in the last episode, we also talked about the installation tools and safety equipment. Every engineering environment, safety is number one. We at Digital Oracle, we are all about safety first. HSC compliance, because we are also HSC compliant. So safety first. For you to head to site, make sure you have your safety equipment. I'll be listing those equipment down for you to understand and know them handy before heading to site. That's if you are going to be a technical person, because this training also covers the business part. So if you're going to be using this training for only your business part, you don't need to buy this, but you need to also know it. You need to know what you're selling. But you, for a technical person, this is for you. You need to buy it if you really need to head to site. So you need to start with one, your safety helmet, which is paramount, because you're going to be climbing up some elevated environment, or you're walking down, people are up, things might fall on your head, so you need to protect your head. And your hand gloves, because you'll be working on real-time wires. You don't know what you're going to touch, and it might spark up some electrical shock. So it's always good to put on your hand glove. That's tools needed for you to deploy this. So you have your cable, you've crimped it. You now have the connectors. You now have your connectors. We'll be teaching you how to do the connection, because this has like a color combination. You have the green, white, blue, white, orange, white. You have to actually know the color combination, so you know how to interconnect this. So once you've slotted in the cables, you now crimp it. That's why it's called crimping. So we'll be teaching you all that as we progress. Then have your cable tester too, because once you crimp your cable, there's a need to test it. You understand? You have to test what you've crimped for before you deploy to site. So for any cable you crimp end to end, there's a cable tester. So you test your cable and all that. Then you have your drilling machine. So that drilling machine, you know what it does? It helps you drill through the holes where you'll be mounting your cameras. So in today's episode, we'll be delving into other aspects of the training, we'll be doing like more like a practical lab simulation. A simulation. We'll be setting up like a lab simulation, just like what I explained. This is what we'll be expecting in this episode: a hands-on simulation of a lab where you understand how the cameras are mounted, how these cables are run, how the configuration of NVR is done. All these are what we'll be learning in the episode and all that. Then we'll talk about IP address. There are some connectivity issues you might experience that will make your camera not to work. You might have an IP conflict when you're setting up an IP camera. So it's always good to pay attention on your IP address, because this IP cameras runs on an IP address. So if you don't get it right, you'll be having a more of IP conflict on your network, and it will affect your camera. You can also have cable faults, and these are all things we'll be learning. Cables faults, breaking cable. These are things that will make your camera installation not to work. You understand? We've talked about the equipment needed, and I'm talking about what to make your camera not to work. So you understand all those things. So when you're installing a camera and you experience this issue, you should refer back to this tutorial that, hey, I talked about this issue. I talked about what you need to check if your camera is not working after all the whole setup is done. So we're learning all those things during the course of this particular episode. So furthermore, we'll also be talking about the business part of it. There's a whole lot of market trend in terms of the CCTV analysis. You have your target markets for the business part of people, because not everybody requires CCTV. You're talking about people in the rural areas. A lot of people don't even have lights in their environment. So why are you proposing a CCTV for them? Why are you wasting your time trying to connect people in some remote village? So you need to concentrate on people that have conquered power, electricity, because for your CCTV to work, you need to also know power. Do you have UPS? Do you have solar panel? So uninterrupted power supply need to be also considered. I mean, your power supply need to be top notch. The business guys, you also need to know your target audience. Why preparing your proposal, or why setting up your marketing strategy, so that you won't waste resources trying to reach out to those that are not your target audience. So we'll be learning that at the course of this program. So I believe we've captured all the recap of last time that entails the CCTV, understanding the functionalities, the basic component, because it's good to understand the basic component of this CCTV installation. So stay glued on while we run through the next slides. So for today's episode, we are going to be having a simulation. When I mean a practical lab simulation. So now, I'm going to be setting up a lab simulation. So watch me for the first time. If you're going to be installing a CCTV camera, make sure you have your camera. This is your camera. Okay. Let's just say we're going to be mounting it. Okay, because of the time, we just mount it here. This is the camera. Now, you have your cable. So you need to be listening to this thing down. So have your paper, write all these things down, because they help you in terms of understanding what's needed. You have your camera. This is your camera. This is your cable. You have your connectors. These are connectors. It goes end to end on the cable. We'll be teaching you these things. You need to have this is called RJ45 connector. And this is Cat6 cable. Cat6 cable has 100% Cat6 cable, have the indoor and outdoor cable. So you need to understand, if you are installing your camera inside the house, you'll be using the indoor Cat6 cable. If you are installing the cameras outside, that we test the time of rain, sun, or even fire, use outdoor 100% copper. So even if there is sun or rain, or it won't affect your camera. So you need to understand the difference, because if you use an indoor cable and install it on an outside camera, you'll be having issues. Once there's rain or sun, it affects the camera. You have your PoE switch. This PoE switch is where you have your camera cable. You've crimped your cable. The cable is entering on this switch. So because this RJ45 is connected to the switch. connected to the switch. So you're plugging after crimping your cable end to end. You are connecting this like this. So this end has gone to the PoE switch. Then the other end goes into the camera. So it's end to end, like it's supposed to be like this, but I cut it because we'll be simulating some tests and I'll crimp it for you. So all these are what in this, you're plugging. So this goes into the camera end. So you're having an end-to-end connection from the camera to the switch. And this PoE is powering this camera. You don't need any you don't need any electrical power. Understand what I'm saying? Your PoE means power over internet. See, this thing now is connected, but there is no power cable coming from this guy. The switch is giving it power, the switch is giving it internet, the switch is giving it sound, the switch is giving it everything. This is the functionality of an IP camera. But if you're running an analog camera now, you'll be running power cable different, you'll be running video cable different, you'll be running your audio cable different. When an IP camera is just one cable that will transmit data, it will transmit power, it will transmit audio, it will transmit high video resolution. So the connection comes from the camera to the switch, from the switch to the NVR. Then from the NVR now, it's on the NVR, that's where you configure your remote connection. On your NVR, where inside you have your IP address, so you can connect with your phone or your laptop. If you are connected, you are hitting the NVR. It's the NVR that has that software that will enable you to connect to your remote location. So understand the flow. You're not connecting to the switch, you're connecting to the NVR or directly to the camera. The switch helps you to distribute the network, but you can log into the NVR. If you log into the NVR, you see all the 24 cameras connected. But if you log into the cameras one by one, you are only going to be seeing the camera view you logged into. I don't know if you understand, if what I'm saying makes sense. So you can log in directly to the camera, or you can log into the NVR to see all the whole 24 cameras connected at once. As we proceed, we'll be going through the real testing, because I believe by the time we're done here, you're going to be a professional CCTV installation engineer, and you can really hit your chest and go to the field and have this deal set up and make money for yourself and for your loved ones. Okay, not wasting much of our time. We'll also be talking about the wireless network configuration, because in the environment where you set up your LAN, because what we just did now is a LAN network connection, local area network that requires cable connection. But we can actually have this connection on a wireless. So, but for the purpose of this setup, we're going to be doing a hybrid, both LAN and wireless. So I just explained LAN to you now. I'll be doing the normal wireless connection, so you understand how the two works, the LAN and the wireless, okay? For you to have a wireless connection, yes, I told you need to have your wireless router. With that wireless router, you pick the network from the switch. I'll be going to be talking about troubleshooting common issues, because currently now I just explained how it's done. It might seem seamless. It will not be seamlessly done if you don't understand the problems that arises while installing this camera. Because if I talk about all success stories without talking about disadvantage or issues or things that might go wrong while you are setting up this issue. So if you arise, know that we've talked about it, we've discussed it about it, and you can also reach out to us if you have any issue after learning this, and then you're trying to set up for someone or for yourself, you have any issue, reach out to us on the number shown on your screen, or on our website, or drop us send us an email. We're always here to guide you through this process. And if you have any contracts that you feel you want us to come handle for you, yes, reach out to us. We can have all those then factor that, and you have your own commission. You get a contract, give us a deploy, you have your own commission. So we're all just here to ride you through the whole journey. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the troubleshooting issues. Common issues might arise while you're setting up your camera. One, you might have an IP conflict if you don't properly configure your router. I said something, your router is what gives the routing protocol that gives you the DHCP server. If you're going to be having a static server, static IP address, or you're going to be having a LAN on your network, you don't have a VLAN. If you want these cameras to connect on this VLAN, you want this camera to connect on that VLAN. On the router, that's where you set it up. And if you don't set it up, the IP address might have an issue, and you will not connect, or you will not view your camera. So at times, you set up your network, set up your cameras, you've done the cable check, and your camera still didn't connect. It might be an IP conflict. Then at times it might be a cable cut or a cable breakage That's why you have the LAN tester to test your cable. After crimping end to end, make sure you test this cable to make sure they are working, because if the cables are not properly slotted, or if the cables are not properly crimped, and in terms of arranging the color codes, you are mixing one where it's supposed to be have a green cable, you are putting a blue cable, your camera will not connect and you cannot view it. So it's always good to pay attention to those areas where I'm going to be mentioning. It's key. There is no installation that you not meet up a cable connection, you not meet up an IP, you must meet them. So always make sure you check all these issues if your camera installation is having issue, And then also maybe you're having a blurry image. You can have your camera that is having a blurry image and all that. Try to look at the resolution. Are you using the right resolution? Because all these cameras have their own settings. Maybe you're having a high resolution on the settings and all that. Always go to check that settings, resolution. That's why you check your blurry message. Listen now, you cannot connect IP issue, check the IP conflict, check the cable fault, check for the blurry message, check your resolution. And then for the night vision malfunction, there's night vision settings where you can set your night vision, because these cameras automatically switches at night. That's why at times you see a camera at night, you feel it's not working. It's working because once it's night, it has its own night vision. It automatically switches to night vision, can still capture whatever is going on in that environment. So there's always need to check all those issues that might arise in your camera installation, okay? So in our next episode, we'll be talking more, we'll be going in depth. We'll be talking about the wireless setup, how to integrate wireless connection, LAN connection and all that. So we call the WLAN, wireless stroke LAN, integration of WLAN. So you have your WLAN network. So you can actually have your only LAN network set up on your camera. Your camera just be on the LAN. But if you have a wireless camera, you can integrate it into. So we'll be talking about all those things in the next episode. I'll also be talking about the business side for all setup. There's always the business part for those that want to be a business owners in terms of the CCTV. Because for this training, after this training, you can actually set up your own CCTV company, because the aim of this is to empower those out there to really be an independent person. We'll groom you through. You set up your own company, employ people, be an employer level, be an entrepreneur. So this is part of we giving back to you, the society, because we know how long it took us to learn this and understand it. And over the years, we've been doing it. So the digital worker we'll just talk about it. How can we give back to society? Giving you money is not enough. Giving you fish is not enough. So let's impact your intellectual. And in an environment where intellectual is being impacted, people function, people progress. So we are all about intellectual property empowerment. So this initiative to empower the youth out there to really, really believe in themselves, have hands experience, have handy technical hands to really do this. Some people might use it as a business, some people might go into technical bit. So we'll be riding through all this journey in our next episode of the CCTV installation setup. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you're blessed. The little word of marble. This is the word of marble. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers.